Have questions. Let's make this more of an interactive presentation. You have
First
a question? All right.
Is it available for alumni?
It is. It is. We have a travel program for alumni called Southern Safari, where we go on at least one trip every year. We've gone to Cuba a couple of times, Italy, London. We're working on a trip now for next October to Ireland and Scotland for alumni.
Ah, that's amazing.
So there's my contact information. Feel free to stop by anytime you want to chat about study abroad. Webster Hall 337, my email address, my website. So Missouri Southern has what they call an international mission. And this actually dates back to 1995. At that time, former Governor Mel Carnahan gave every university in the state the opportunity to choose a particular specialty. And Missouri Southern chose international education. And it actually became part of state law through this House bill that was passed and signed by the governor. And it was revised in 2005 after we became a university and strengthened. So it says Missouri Southern is hereby designated and shall hereafter be operated as a statewide institution of international or global education. The institution shall develop such academic support programs, which would be study abroad, and public service activities it deems necessary and appropriate to establish international or global education as a distinctive theme of its mission. It's also why we have the themed semesters every fall. Anyone know what the theme is this fall?
Nordic.
The Nordic semester. So we've been doing that for over 20 years as a way of bringing the world to the campus.
Isn't the Nordic like the Vikings?
We have had several programs on the Vikings, yes. They originated from that region. So we're going to focus on study abroad today. Where will you go? This is a former student named Alex Wong, who was a football player, and he had to wait until his football career was over before he could go study abroad. He chose to go to Spain, Almeria, that's the Mediterranean Ocean, and this is a picture of him arriving and seeing his new surroundings for the very first time. Quite a bit different from Joplin.
That's a really good picture.
So he was able to spend the entire spring semester there. So at the same day this picture was taken in Spain, we were having an ice storm back in Joplin to begin the spring semester. We've sent students to Morocco before. Here 4 students went together a couple of years ago and were able to ride camels on the Saharan desert. Does anybody in here have a passport? Awesome. That's impressive. Half the class has a passport. I would encourage you to go ahead and get one if you don't, because you need them now to go to Canada, to go to Mexico, to go on a cruise. Anytime you leave the U.S. borders, you need a passport. And they are good for 10 years, and it's another good form of identification. Whenever I fly within the United States, I always bring my driver's license and my passport, because I'm always just a little afraid. What if I lose my driver's license? Then I have no way of proving my identity to get back on the plane. But if I have my passport, that's a second piece of identification. So we have sent over 3,400 students abroad. The majority go on short-term trips led by faculty, but an increasing number are going for an entire semester or even an entire year. And I'm going to kind of compare and contrast today both the short-term trips and the semester-long opportunities. So we'll start off with the short-term trips, again led by faculty members. Faculty members make all the arrangements. They determine the itinerary. They book the flights. They determine where you're going to stay. They figure out the ground transportation within the country or countries that you're visiting. All you have to do is get your passport and go with them. These are during intersession, summer school, or spring break. Intersession is that period right after the spring semester ends, mid-May to the end of May. That's a very popular time. Usually the crowds haven't arrived, the tourists haven't arrived in a lot of these countries, and flights are a little bit cheaper than they will be during the summer. All of the trips provide credit, academic credit, usually 2 to 6 hours, depending upon the length of the trip. The longer the trip, the more credit you might receive. We offer $1,000 grants to make the trips more affordable. And that's part of our international mission from the state. To get the $1,000 grant, you need a 2.5 GPA, and you must be a full-time student. Before the grants, the trips generally cost ballpark between $2,500 and $3,400. Again, it depends upon the length of the trip and the location. Some places are more affordable than others. So you could take $1,000 off the cost if you get that study abroad grant. And the trip's announced by November 1st of each year, which is today. And so we're going to be announcing the trips this afternoon, but I'll give you a sneak preview here in a few minutes. So this is one of our trips, I think, from 2016, a class called Caribbean Culture and Animal Behavior that went to Belize. They got to snorkel, and then they caught their own tuna and mackerel and grilled them right on the beach. And this guy was an overachiever. He caught 2 fish. But you know, how fun would that be? To catch your own fish and then grill it right there on the beach.
That sounds nice, but I'm very allergic to fish.
So these are biology department students who also go to Belize about every other year. So one exercise they have them do, they have them walk through this creek, and they have them feel around in the water and try to pull up whatever creatures they can find. Wouldn't be my idea of fun, but if you're a biology major, you love that type of thing. So what did this student catch?
Looks like a lizard.
Lizard?
Iguana.
Iguana. You know what kind of iguana?
That kind.
That's a green one.
Green iguana.
That's what she caught. And again, that would not be for me. I'd be afraid of being bit or stung or, you know, coming up with something poisonous. One of the enjoyments of traveling abroad is getting to eat the local food. Here are a couple students in Italy eating a typical Italian meal. Wait a minute.
That's a burger.
That looks like a hamburger, and that looks
Chicken.
like chicken wings. So this looks more Italian, some kind of tomato dish. But we always encourage our students, you know, to experiment with their food, be bold, eat something that you can't get back at home. You know, Italy is known for its food, so I don't think I'd go and order a hamburger. But, you know, to each his own. This is a picture from last June, just a few months ago actually. Our chamber singers in Estonia, they went on a Nordic tour, and they've been performing a couple of times during the Nordic semester. So here are those faculty-led group trips for 2019. You are the first students on campus to see this list. So, El Camino de Santiago.
Spain, Portugal.
Anyone know what kind of trip that would be, or what the El Camino is? That's a walk. It's a pilgrimage walk that's becoming very popular in Spain, France, even Portugal. And they have all sorts of different walks. you know, different links, different itineraries, different destinations. And so it's a walking trip. Yes?
Is that the one where they follow, like, there was like a little sign that's on the ground or on like the wall and they
Yes.
follow that?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a Martin Sheen movie that came out a few years ago called The Way, and he goes on this El Camino walk. So this is 3 different departments doing this: history, English, and Spanish. And so I'll point out that you can go on any of these faculty-led trips for 2019. You would be eligible. Tropical rainforest and coral reefs of Belize, that's the biology department again. Revolution and Mexican national identity in Mexico City, that is through the history department. There's a history professor going and a Spanish professor. Czechia, EU and Euro integration, May 14th through the 27th. Czechia is the Czech Republic, and it's just a shorter version. The country used to be called Czechoslovakia. That's what your parents and grandparents might know it as. Then it became the Czech Republic after the Soviet Union crumbled. But they figured that's still a little lengthier, so they shortened it even more. That's an international business trip. Made in Germany, an engineering technology department trip. One of their professors is from Germany, so she is taking students to her homeland. Art of Australia. This is through the art department. Exploring the Nordic lifestyle. They're going to Denmark and Norway. This is through the kinesiology department. Art and anatomy in Italy for years to lose students. What are years to lose students? Medical. Those students who have been admitted into the new medical school in Joplin. So it is limited to those students. And then finally, a trip we have every year, summer in Sweden. This is through the art department. But they're also going to Spain, Denmark, and Norway in addition to Sweden. So 9 trips. You have to be an art major for this trip or that trip. You have to be a medical student for this trip. So that still opens up 6 possibilities. And most of these accept students who aren't majoring in that department. We also have a short-term program in Ansbach, Germany, May 11th through the 20th. It's not a faculty-led trip. We just send the students without a faculty member, but they're met at the airport in Munich by this university, picked up and taken to the campus. We have a Hansun Summer School in Korea. These were the dates last year. They haven't set the dates yet for 2019, but they'll be very similar to the 2018 dates. And again, we don't send a faculty member with you, but the university meets you at the airport in Seoul and takes you to the campus.
Do you need to know Korean?
You don't have to know Korean, but you will study Korean while you're there. You'll study the Korean language and you'll study Korean culture, and you'll get to do a lot of field trips and excursions. So it's a very, very affordable, one of our best bargains. Sometimes we have student teaching in Belize. They're not able to go this year though, but they have several times in the past. The best way to follow our trips is to like MSSU Study Abroad on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, that's where we post information about all the trips that are coming up and other opportunities. So now I want to compare and contrast the short-term versus semester-long. Some students can't go for a semester because they have jobs or they have family responsibilities. They might be able to get away for a 2 or 3 week trip, but it'd be very difficult for them to go for a semester. So, in that case, the short-term trip is perfect for them. But if you can get away for a semester, you do get more bang for your buck on the semester-long trips. And you might even spend less than you would for a 2 or 3 week trip. And I'll show you how later. The short-term trips whet your appetite for even more study abroad or world travel. Often these students get back, and in Italy they kind of start thinking, well, where can I go next? I'd love to go somewhere again. Usually it's just not enough to go on one trip. You kind of develop this bug. I want to go, go, go. I want to see the world. The semester-long trips provide a true cultural immersion experience. You're not a tourist. And as much as we would hate to admit it, on the short-term trips, you are in that tourist mode. You're kind of walking around with your mouth wide open. You're looking at all the sides. You're taking pictures every few seconds. You're just kind of in awe of your surroundings. But when you go for a semester, they call that the true cultural immersion. You actually live there. You settle in. You're not living out of a suitcase or staying in a hotel. You're actually living there for 4 or 5 months. You may be buying your own groceries, getting to know the people who live around you. It's just a much different experience. Employers place more value in the longer study abroad. Yes?
Oh, if we do a semester long, do we live on their campus?
There are different options. It depends upon the universities. If they have residence halls like we do here, then you would, yes. A lot of the European universities, though, don't have their own residence halls, so you have to rent an apartment near the campus. And then there are even situations where you could stay with a host family. Okay. So really 3 different models. Good question. You have the opportunity to do a great deal of traveling when you're there for a semester. You can kind of use your location as a base or a jumping off point and visit other surrounding countries, which our students always do. And it's possible to do both. First go on the short-term trip, see how it operates, and then you gain confidence and you think, well, I could do this. I could go by myself or with a friend for an entire semester. So, Faye's Rader, she just graduated in December. She spent a semester in London, and she used London as her base or jumping off point. And she was able to visit, I think this is a Missouri Southern record, 15 different countries during her study abroad experience. I mean, she was always traveling. Look, she went to the Netherlands 3 times. She said Norway was her favorite place of all these countries. I think she spent more time traveling than she did in London. You know, there's so much to see and do in London. She might have shortchanged London.
This is Wales.
Wales is part of the United Kingdom. It's kind of, I guess, southwest part of the UK. And then Scotland is to the north.
Yeah.
So the 4 countries that make up the United Kingdom: England, Wales, Scotland, and what's the 4th? They know? Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of the UK. We do have 15 partner universities that we could send you to for a semester or a year. Some of these are restricted to language majors and minors, particularly the 3 in Japan, but some of them are open to all majors. This is our newest one, the Czech Republic. we just signed the agreement in April, and we already have a student from the Czech Republic at Missouri Southern this fall, and we're planning to send 1 or 2 students to the Czech Republic
What's
in
their
the spring.
majors?
They have most majors that Missouri Southern has.
Psychology?
Hmm?
Psychology?
I think they do. Mhm. Of course, the University of Prince Edward Island is in Canada.
Canada. Sorry.
So, how the partners universities work, you pay Missouri Southern tuition. You either pay the other university or you rent an apartment, depending upon whether they have their own residence halls. And they do in the Czech Republic at this particular university, they do have on-campus residence halls. Stay for 1 semester or 1 year. And it is common that a student will intend to go for 1 semester, and then they'll email me halfway through and they'll say, I'm having such a great time, I don't want to come home in a month or 2 months, can I extend my stay? And almost always we say yes, because 2 semesters would be even better than 1 for that cultural immersion. You get a $1,250 grant, again, if you have the 2.5 GPA and the full-time status, and we use that to book your flight to the country. So this is, again, Ansbach University in Germany. This is, it's kind of cut off, the University of Orléans in France. And they have this tram that runs from the city to the campus. So here is a student named Rachel Bartlett who spent a year abroad, and she is at a famous statue in the town where she studied. Anybody tell me the name of that statue?
Oh, I forget what its name is.
It's a fairy tale, the Grimm brothers. Anybody know? The Bremen Town Musicians. So this is in Germany. There's what's that? A donkey, a dog, a cat, and a rooster. And it says if you touch the front hooves, it is said to make wishes come true. So I don't know if that happened with Rachel, but she's trying it nevertheless. Here's Brandon Clausen, one of our students at Prince Edward Island. And it's so much fun when you spend a semester abroad to meet students from other countries. I mean, he met plenty of Canadian students, but Canada and the United States, they're pretty similar. Well, he was able to meet students from other countries. And that's something you really can't do on the short-term trip. When you're with a faculty member and you're just going from place to place, it's hard to meet people from that country, but you can certainly do that when you go abroad for a semester. So our next option for a semester is the International Student Exchange Program, commonly known as ISEP. It's a network of 330 colleges and universities in 50 countries. Just a few of the countries where you could find an ISEP campus. So I've got this in bold because it's so important. You pay Missouri Southern tuition and housing, which some of you are already paying anyway if you live on campus. You spend a semester abroad, and you pay exactly what you're already paying at Missouri Southern. Now, if you live at home, you're not paying the housing fee, so that would be a new expenditure. But that's a good deal, $3,100 for a room and meals in another country for an entire semester. And what did those short-term trips cost? You remember?
$2,500.
$2,500 to $3,400. So this is what the cost would be if you're not living on campus. That's why I say it's really a better deal. You spend $3,100 for 4 or 5 months, or you can spend $3,100 for a 2-week trip. So this student, Tim Shellhammer, he was a finance and economics major, and he wanted to study, big business, and he went to Hong Kong. Again, paying exactly what he was already spending at Missouri Southern. So, some more details about ISEP. If you go to their website, you'll see they have ISEP Exchange and ISEP Direct. You want ISEP Exchange, that's where you pay our tuition and housing. ISEP Direct, you have to pay the other university directly, and it's always more than our tuition and housing. When you apply, you have to select 3 to 10 universities, first choice, second choice, third choice, and so on. And they try to give you your first or second choice if it's available. The only really negative, if there's any negative, is there's a $100 application fee, and if you accept where they have placed you, then it's $325. 2 deadlines each year, September 1 for the spring semester, and then February 15th for the fall semester. Nathaniel Bergen went to Poland, and he's one of those who wanted to extend his stay. He emailed me about halfway through his semester in Poland and wanted to stay a second semester. I said yes. ISEP said yes. So he was there an entire year, and then he emailed us again, said, I'm having such a great time in Poland, I'd like to spend a 3rd semester there. And I said yes. ISEP said no. They said, you've been there 2 semesters, you need to come back home so that we can send someone else on exchange to Poland. And Nathaniel said, no, I'm not coming home, I'm staying in Poland. So he was able to not use ISEP, enroll himself directly at that university. And he ended up spending 2 full years there. So he finally came back to Missouri Southern. It's been 2 years since I'd seen him. I said, Nathaniel, I've got to know, what was it about Poland? What do you think it was? Girl.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he met a Polish girl, and they continued dating when he got back to Missouri, and they were eventually married. I believe now living in Florida. So you could find your future spouse on a study abroad trip. We have the Missouri London program, which is more expensive than spending a semester at Missouri Southern, but it's because you're living in London, one of the most expensive cities in the world. And most students, though, say it's worth it. For that experience, in many cases you can get more financial aid that semester to help offset that cost. And you get to go on field trips, like to the Roman baths. If you go to London, one thing you have to do, you have to find this one certain red telephone booth. See, this is the same one in all 3 pictures. This is the most iconic of all the red telephone booths.
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who, well, they use a blue one.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, they use a blue one. But this is, what's this? Big Ben. And so they're having a problem with these red telephone booths in England. They're not needed anymore, right? Because everybody has a cell phone. But they can't get rid of them because they're so iconic. You go to London, you expect to see a red telephone booth. So often they don't have a phone anymore. They're just there for decor. I led a short-term trip to London a few years ago, and 2 of my students got engaged in that same telephone booth. It was Jansen Adams proposing to his girlfriend, Courtney Caldwell. And he had it all planned in advance, obviously, you know, before leaving the States. But I remember this very well. He had two main problems to solve regarding this proposal. First, the ring. He bought her a great big diamond engagement ring. And he was wondering, he arranged a special date night when they were in London, but he was worried about this ring. How does he take it with him on their date night without her seeing it? You see, he's dressed in shorts, and so he was afraid, well, do I just put it in my shorts? You know, it could very easily fall out, and I'd, you know, be out $2,000. I'm not sure what he did to solve that problem. But the other dilemma he had was, who's going to take the picture? You know, nowadays when you get engaged, there has to be photos, even videos now. And so, who's going to take the picture of our special moment? And he thought about having someone else from our group go along to be the photographer. But he thought, well, that'd be kind of odd. You know, our special night, and we've got this third person with us the entire night. So he decided not to do that. What he ended up doing was he just gave his camera, he had a nice camera, he just went up to a stranger a few minutes beforehand and kind of whispered, I'm going to be proposing, will you take our picture? And he was a little afraid the guy might just take off running with his camera. But the guy didn't, and whoever this perfect stranger was really took a perfect photo. I mean, you couldn't ask. You know, it's framed well. You know, it's just ideal photo. And again, if you go to London, you never know who you might run into. Who is this?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. Tanya Richardson met him.
How?
Well, she's a theater major here, and she took a course at the University of Roehampton in London. She went for the semester. She took a course in London theater, which involved them going to a lot of theater productions. And she met him at one of the theater productions that she was attending. You can blog about your experiences, which is a good way to share information with family and friends. So this is our student, Brianna Allen. And anybody know where she's visiting? Famous castle? She went to Italy for her semester abroad. This is not in Italy. She took a trip. It's Bran Castle near Transylvania in Romania. What's it better known as? Dracula's Castle. That's Dracula's Castle. It's a real place, and Transylvania is a real place. It's not made up. So she got to go there. Sarah and Graham Chambers were a married couple who went to Finland together through ISEP, and they got to go to a reindeer farm, and they also got to go to the Arctic Ocean. So there's Graham. That's not Sarah. That's a friend. Sarah is taking the picture. You can't really tell, but Graham is screaming. It's the Arctic Ocean. He's waist deep. Imagine how cold that is. Have you ever been to the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah.
You really can't wade in the Pacific Ocean even, because that's too cold. Well, the Arctic Ocean is about 10 times as worse. Alicia Henson went to England for a semester, and